Okay, so we're back. Now, this time we did not get a chance to watch episode 3 early. We're just jumping ahead, talking ahead here, recording ahead of episode 3 to talk about a little bit of a problem. So, as you guys know, episode 2 and onwards, there's been we have an animation issue. So we're going to talk about that. The first episode visually was great. Second episode, there's been a drop off in quality, animation wise. So we're gonna get into this. Um, I'm not entirely sure where to begin, but I guess I'll just state my thoughts really quickly, and then we'll just go around. The, the yeah, I don't know. The animation is of a lesser quality in episode 2 as opposed to episode 1. That is infuriating. I don't think that I'm as angry as most people are. It's just frustrating that now everybody is it's basically the Last Jedi all over again. I mean, the story is great, but this visual angle, like, I can't defend it. If I was a lawyer, I just can't defend this. Again, I'm not as one to stab people, but it is infuriating. Hence my little short that I just made. I'm gonna stop. What one of y'all go?
I'll say this, that we initially, Sam and I think Sam brought it up first. We noticed something. We're like, huh, that felt odd. Okay, whatever. Freaky deaky stuff. Okay, cool. And we take in the story because a lot of we all three of us, including Busy, was like, we're not familiar with the books. We may have heard of it, but we haven't read it. We haven't seen it that fully. I had kind of a little sneak peek here and there, but I made myself clear I'm not going cold. And it's not unless you're really looking for it until the second time, when you've already taken in the story, taken in the music, what this series is trying to do, trying to present. It's not until you revisit it that you're noticing, okay, why is it not as detailed as the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Why is stuff sticking out more now? Why is people's hair very standard? And I guess, I pity the folks who create this stuff. Is that now we live in the 4K era where now stuff is clear, where details are off. And I'll say this, that like there's stuff that's been confirmed / not confirmed, posts on Twitter and social media that have been taken down, but were gathered, and now it's like, how deep does this go? Because for a lot of people, including Jarrell, it's been a 5-year wait. And again, I'm not frustrated, but I am baffled that, like, after 5 years, this is what happened. And there are some potential answers for this, and we'll get into it later. But it's a little it's very baffling when you think about it now, and how much we were so glued in to the execution of episode 1, and now going to episode 3, we're like, we don't know what's going to happen. Besides the story, we don't know what's going to happen. The animation, from a visual point of view, we don't know what's going to happen. So,
yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this. So this image right here is taken from episode 2. This is one of our main lead characters, right? Pay close attention to shading. If anybody sketches or whatnot, the more shading is done, the more details it is, right? And the more depth of field you feel. Like there's this separation from animation and reality that kind of happens the more detailed it is. When you look at this and then you go to this picture, you can see, even from the internal side of her hair, not only is it a lot more lines, but the shading is different. Her eyes are different. If you look at the other side, the dad and everything that's going on with that, you can tell there are levels to details, whether it's from the veins in his eyes to a lot of the blocking, right?
yeah.
So I'm going to keep it a stack. I've probably seen more animes than either one of these two individuals.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and you guys can disagree or not. And I'm not talking about Jarrell or Ronan. I'm talking about everybody else watching this. This picture right here is also from episode 2. This is not a bad image. This is a specific composite moment where you have two main characters that are about to go through a terrible ordeal, more snake-like than I want to admit. But visually, the shading is really well done. Details on whether it is the interior linings of the walls, whether it's the shading of the light coming off of their legs or their arms. This is not bad. The problem is that you reached a peak level of animation on that first episode that set the tone for everything, right? And so when you reach peak, I think me and Darrell had a whole conversation about like this was possibly masterful. The first pilot is a masterful piece of art. If we judge this alone, just if like say how they're speaking that every year they release the episode, we just took that first episode. It was a masterpiece just off the first episode. And not just from a storytelling standpoint, from an animation. There's so many levels to this. I think that some of the things that we saw in the teaser trailer look no different than what we saw in the first episode, which is crazy. So when you get to the second episode, the storytelling hasn't changed. The levels of craziness have changed, which is why when you watch our reactions, we're so wrapped up into what's happening that we're not trying to like nitpick the visual aesthetic, because there's still moments, much like the picture I just showed you guys, that still look good. But when you start seeing certain moments of characters moving or their lips or their dialogue, you notice there's certain gaps. But one thing I'll say is that where the moments count, even in the second episode, they still are on it. They are still eye-catching, right?
Yes.
But it's undeniable that when you get everything from beginning to end from the first episode, and then you have segments of what looks great to looks kind of like mediocre, it unfortunately makes this counterbalance that people's perception. Now, the thing about it, if people that are anime snobs, that they look at animes all the time, they're not going to sit there and come for this show, even off the second episode, because there's absolutely been animes that are not on that same level. And I'm not talking about like your Jujutsu Kaisens or Demon Slayer or Attack on Titans. I'm talking about other random anime that really doesn't meet that level or that level of storytelling. So I look at it very differently. I do admit there's absolutely a drop off from the first episode to the second. And aesthetically, realistically, it's probably going to be the same for the rest of them. I've already reserved myself to that. The thing that I'll say is that it's not that the second episode is bad visually. It's just the comparison. When you make a direct comparison of the two, it is a night and day difference. And I think that where we're in a world now where people compare and critique so much, you see an image like this and like, oh my gosh, when you're watching it live, you're horrified as what's actually happening. But in hindsight, when people go and re-regurgitate certain scenes and moments with the social media environment that we're in, they're gonna be like, oh, well, shoot. When I compare this other moment from the first episode, like, oh no, this is nothing. This is terrible. And I think that it's a far thing to say that this is terrible versus it's a lesser form from what it came from. I think that's the unfortunate reality. And I think that we really should talk about what actually happened more than anything, because hopefully people understand it. But at the same as that time, they're still not going to rationalize it. They're going to be like, well, you just should have never created it at all. But Ronan, do you want to kind of go off of what the actual reality was, or whichever one of you guys want to?
So what I have gathered from articles and people noticing that some posts were removed, people who did caught up to the drop of, I'll even just say the inconsistency of quality from episode 1 to episode 2. I believe an executive producer by the name of DeMarco said that it's fine. We knew this would happen. And then go on to say that, like, I can't talk about what went down, but we were screwed over. And the options were A, not finish and air nothing and call it a loss. B, just finish and air episode 1 and leave it incomplete. Or C, run all 4, warts and all. Out of respect for the hard work, we chose C. After waiting so long, it makes sense people would be mad. Unfortunately, I can't tell them who to blame it on, but someone is definitely at fault here. And we all just had to do our best when things imploded. Maybe others would have made different choices. We did the best we could with what we had.
I mean, let's start right there, because I really was going to ask, like, what would you rather have had? And I mean, this is a collective question because it's going to be different for everybody. And realistically, like, I know Jarrell, I know Ronan, I know myself, but I also know that the audience is a very fickle and a dangerous place. Personally, no, man, I'm gonna let Jarrell talk. Go ahead.
Go, Jarrell.
No, you can finish. You can finish. You finish what you were gonna say.
Personally, for me, right? I remember that first teaser 5 years ago, and I was like, "Yo, this looked like peak." Like, okay, well, what's going down? Like, all right, take the 5 years. I think me and Jarrell had a conversation. Like, look, if it takes them 10 years, just give us that top tier, you know? And so when it was like stated, like, oh, it's coming out, and I was like, oh, freak, they've been working on this thing for 5 years. All right, well, let's go, give it to me, right? I don't know how much time they spent working on episode 1, but the weird, sad thing about it is that there's so many different moments from episode 1 that you can see in that first teaser. So I don't know how much work was actually put in personally between the 5 years. But what I did not anticipate is how crazy of a story and a journey this would take me on. I really didn't. Yeah. I think that what brought me in was the visual aesthetic and like the promise of craziness. But what has made me continue has been this draw story that is freaked me out. So at this point, having watched the first episode, if I knew going into it that 2, 3, 4 were not going to be the same exact level, I still would want to watch it. But I'm that same fool that's like, certain other, entities that I would love to see an animation form of those. I'm not going to bring that up here because it's not the place. I'm fine with continuing this, and I'd rather have finished seeing what the fulfilled journey of it is. That's me personally. But I'm not going to disparage anybody. It's like, look, you hit perfection and peak. Keep that. Don't go any further than that. I'm not going to disparage anybody from saying that. But for me at this point, like, I'm fine with the masterful episode, the first one, and what we get moving forward, just as long as you give me a complete story. I would be more pissed if they were like, yeah, we got the first episode in the bag, but we're never doing the second, third, or fourth. But maybe one day we'll release out on DVD the first episode or something. That would piss me the heck off. I'm not gonna lie.
Lord, this is. I've been trying to figure out how to articulate my thoughts on this for like hours on end. I still kind of don't know because again, I've been repeating. Yes, there's the second episode is of a lesser quality visually, but that doesn't mean that I just like outright hate it. Like, there's people who are like, the director should be fired. He should never find work again. Anyone connected to this, like, their lives should be ruined. How dare they? She's like, whoa. Like, I'm not exactly like that level of outrage. Like, I'm disappointed. No doubt. I even was angry for a bit, no doubt. But I'm not that crazy about it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm prepared to say that this is like. Some person was like, "Oh my God, episode 2 was so ugly. It looks as if someone just made it in MS Paint or something." I was like, I feel like I think we can all agree it's disappointing, and it's fine to be upset or angry for a bit. But I think people are getting a little bit too insane. This is reaching almost like Last of Us Part 2, Last Jedi levels of hatred here. I don't know if it's that serious, at least for me personally, but that's just me. Or at least me and Sam, and I suppose Ronan so far. Moving that out of the way. So my thoughts are a little bit sharply different from Sam's. If they knew like, oh, this is not gonna look good, but we're just gonna smile and say otherwise until people catch on. No. What should have happened? Is either taking longer, some more delays, until we get. What should have happened is every episode should look like episode 1. And if the only way to get to that was more delays, then fine. And if not that, then they should have just put out the first episode officially and just said like the rest of the episodes you'll have to wait until they're streaming on digital or they're on the physical release or something like that, and just kept to push it. Okay, these are all nightmare scenarios. Okay, just to be clear here, these are all not good options. Okay, but I can tell you that the best option is I'm trying not to curse. The best option was sure as F was not to do what they did do, which to push things out and to market things out as if everything was fine. Clearly, everything was not fine. If y'all was going to go the route that you did, then y'all should have had like
disclaimer.
Yeah, you should have had a disclaimer. Y'all should have spoke ahead, and don't even give me this. Well, this will hurt the viewership. These are all nightmare scenarios. Maybe the supposed curse that they've been talking about is true. Maybe the show is cursed. Yeah. Okay, I'm not even trying to be facetious. They tried to do like some kind of they tried to do some kind of like blessing or something like that. I'm being for real. Maybe the curse is real.
So before Ronan goes, real quick, let's try to paint that as a picture, because that's hard.
How?
Imagine, right?
It is hard. Hard.
No. I'm just gonna paint the picture, right?
Go ahead.
Because I know we're hurt for time. You've been optioned out, not by Crunchyroll, but by freaking Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers, who don't necessarily take the best care of their properties all the time, right? And realistically, okay, we've made the decision. We're going to continue this out. Like, hey, everyone, just want to let you guys know, first episode is completely finished and everything is done. Now, the story is going to continue. It's going to be this amazing version, but we were not able to complete everything as far as the tier and the level of the animation from the first episode. We sincerely apologize. We hope you still watch it. Bro, this world is not that forgiving. I don't even know if they would even watch the freaking show, because they're going to look at it like...
That's what you got to deal with.
Why? But no, it would never... They would never get any viewership at all.
It's about to happen anyway.
It would be like when a show gets canceled after its first season or before the first season concludes.
Right. The moment that statement comes out, they're not going to... It's happened with other shows before. That's why I'm saying it. And the sad thing about it, it's like that's the right thing to do. But this is not a forgiving world. And it's kind of like they, at this point, having watched the first and second episode, they garnered more than they would have ever gotten if they would have made that statement. Truth be told, for better or for worse.
Okay, but there was going to be a massive drop off compared to I gotta disagree on this one.
Okay.
The route that they took was not, because people were going to be they were going to be crazy either way. There's no timeline where people are going to be substantially less hateful.
Because the only reason why I say it feels like the scenario that Miguel gave Miles in the second Spider-Verse movie, like no, like you have to make this decision now. And like Miles was like, if you knew that Uncle Ben had to die, would you make that decision off rip and just choose to do that?
Okay,
so that's what I'm saying, because it sounds like if the people that are creating this, like, oh man, shoot, we're gonna go ahead and just blow it, shoot it up in the air, like, hey, yo, we can't fund anymore. We don't want to cancel it. We're gonna still put this out, but the quality in the second, third, and fourth episode is not gonna be the same.
So, listen, the hate was going to be the same either way. In either timeline, people were going to be outright
the show before it even aired the first episode. I feel like people wouldn't even watch the first episode.
I mean, that's basically, it's just happening now. But I mean, it would have been less painful if they just from jump were like, hey, this is going to be hard to hear, but we're letting you know. I mean, we have a flawed product, okay? Because the route that they took of like we have this flawed product, but we're just gonna wait until it blows up in our face before addressing it. I mean, that's not better. It's not really a better route in my personal opinion, because this whole like, yeah, but people aren't gonna watch. They're not gonna watch. What do you think they're gonna do now? Like, for God's sake, even if they had been ambiguous and they were like, episodes 3 and 4, well, I don't know. You'll just have to see. People are probably beyond convinced that 3 and 4 are going to look like episode 2. So I don't know. There's not a way to avoid the hatred, but I think they should have warned people, because either way, the effects were going to be bad. Trying to be like, yeah, but at least we got high viewership for episode 1 and 2, right? Like either way, this hurts longevity with this team. So I think they should just warn people ahead of time.
Yeah, Ron, go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Hearing y'all, I don't know that there is a win scenario. It's a no-win scenario. This is Kobayashi Maru. This is like the only thing I can think of right now is if they would have just released episode 1 and left it as a cult thing. Like, this is all we could have done now.
That's what they should have done.
And it's just like, well, what about the rest of the series? They're like, they should have been like, do you want the best version we could have done with a UZUMAKI tale? And people were like, yes, this is it. There's more, and they could have said there's more we could have done, but because of stuff we can't tell you in NDAs, this is the best it's gonna get. So here you are, enjoy it, and don't even charge people to like on HBO Max or Adult Swim. Be like, you should have just put it out. Be like, this is what we could have. This is what we were able to do, without garnering backfire this to the level that it might get in the next coming weeks, and also being like, whoa, they did it, but they didn't finish it. It would have almost. Imagine if when Samurai Jack came back after years of them trying to make a movie, and Gandhi and his team couldn't fulfill the promise at the levels that they did do, and they only dropped the first episode. Of now it's gory. Now there's more action. People are dying, and it's not just robots. And left it at that, it would have been like a cool thing. Like, okay, you know what? We got to see Jack do it one more time. The thing with UZUMAKI, and especially with Junji Ito stuff, as the way Joe was looking at the curse now, it's just like, as far, again, it's been a weird 2 weeks. As far as I've been able to like tell, when Netflix did an anime anthology of his work, it didn't pan out as well. People were butchering that series as well, and it didn't hit the marks that the books, that the mangas do. And I think after now, they try to do an UZUMAKI adaptation and live action called Spiral, I think, a while back, early 2000s. And it was like, but it's not the book. What I feel like they should, if anything, again, it's either do the one episode and that's it, or they take the L and just remain silent and just finish the rest 2, 3, and 4. Because his name now is garnering more following, more reverence than it ever did beforehand. Like now, the fact that he's coming out and doing appearances, it's gonna look like, well, I guess it's now Berserk and it's Berserk and now Junji Ito stuff that it's unadaptable. And we live in a world now where they've done multiple Watchmen adaptations, and we live in a world now where there's been two, if I'm not mistaken, Gerald, 2 adaptations of Berserk. There was the 90s animation and the mid-2010s one. And people aren't still like, it hasn't hit the mark yet. There was no win scenario for them. And it's just like, what's the fastest, easy way to cut off the loss and make something severance because of the 5-year wait? And maybe they should have just dropped episode 1 and not leave it at that. But I think, as Sam was alluding to beforehand, so people know this is clear, we're still going to watch the show. The story has us hooked, even those who say they won't come back. I think they're going to come back in their own fashion. But Jarrell and I are going to still watch it. We're still hooked. The story hasn't let us down. And I think Sam did a great job with saying that there are moments that still hit and are good, great animations. Again, if you haven't seen episode 2, oops. But when the kid gets hit in the car, or when the 2 school kids turn to slugs, like it didn't miss the mark in creeping us the heck out. Like, look at that. That still hits. Now, does that stick out like the animation sequence in the beach where the people are running and then the heads are bobbing? No, it's not that same realm, but it still hits and it's impactful. When I showed this to someone, they were like, yep. That's how it is. And I because I'm not a big Junji fan, but I respect him from afar, and I respect the art he's provided to the world. It's not hitting me as much as it does others, and that's why I would echo to those. I'm like, yes, this is off. I feel bad for you, but don't outright condemn the whole team, because not everybody is at fault here. Again, even with that article saying there's somebody to blame, it's just like this. Most of the stuff that's happening is through the upper echelon folks, not the animators. The animators who are working their asses off, especially now with what's been happening with animation strikes, they have been giving it all. And I can't imagine the 5-year stuff they've had to go through with how animation is done, and also the post-pandemic and post-pandemic era. So either way, they were effed. They were effed. It was an F situation the minute the decision made of not continuing the level of quality that initiated with episode 1.
Yeah, and again, good.
No, I was just gonna say, I wish. Well, it's a couple of things, but I wish I had fully clocked the quality drop off, because I was so engrossed in the story that even during our review, when Sam was talking about noticing a quality difference in animation, I was like, huh? Like I was so. I think Stephen Colbert, he said that when he was watching Oppenheimer, his wife leaned over and she was like, "What did you think about the black and white sequences?" And Stephen was like, "What do you mean?" Because he was just so locked into the story, he didn't even like fully grasp the black and white
point of view ones,
and their significance. That's basically how I was with episode 2. Okay, so anybody in the comment section, if I was like, "Oh no, I had absolutely zero issues. Oh no, I thought the animation was great." Okay, I'm slightly I've taken things back a little bit. All right. Again, I was more so talking about the conceptually speaking, narratively speaking, more so visually when I was talking about my praise for episode 2 to clarify. But again, I don't feel like killing anybody, man.
No.
It's infuriating, but it's more infuriating because I'm very OCD when it comes to creative quality. I judge things harsher than Sam and Ronan, for example. Probably more than most of the people that they have on, because I'm a little bit more eclectic when it comes to at least film, for sure. So there's something else I was gonna say, but I blanked. But what were you gonna say, Sam?
Yeah, you guys look. I'm keep it a whole stack, man. This show is evil, bro. They got me up here for 28 minutes at this point.
It's a lot.
I'm not necessarily trying to defend the show that I don't want to watch. I feel it's legitimately evil. Y'all talk about it being cursed. I am not about any of this show. I'm watching it because of these two individuals and because of Busy Braun. But as a person that is a critic, as a person that loves animation and anime, I'm telling you guys that this is not the worst case scenario that I've seen as far as animation drop off. And you still get something that is insane, right? The issue is that when you look at a picture like this is peak. I've seen a lot of animes, hundreds of animes a year, right? I ain't never seen no craziness like this, which is why I need to get away from this. But I'm saying it and I'm prefacing it like this, that I would actually be sad if they had just dropped the first episode, as much as I hate this mess. And they said, yeah, like there's a lot more story, but we're never gonna make it. We just couldn't do it, but we wanted to give you guys this. I would feel upset fundamentally, and I would be like, wait, no, and it would be like the next 20 years. And I'm like, dang, I hate this show, but I want to see where it's gonna go. Like I need.
But if you got a flawed product, you don't put it out. You don't just put it out and like cross your fingers. You don't do that. You don't do that. You're putting out the next iPod, and you know damn well there's a problem. Don't put it out.
I hear you.
You put a disclaimer for the next Grand Theft Auto. If there's a problem, my nigga, you better tell niggas prior, or you out of your mind. You better let niggas know. Don't wait.
This has happened 3 years ago with a game called Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk
was so messed up, and they did leave the disclaimer, and no one bought the freaking product. They didn't even try.
That's what it is,
and they had to wait. I think another 2 years because they basically redid it. They made another sequel, and then after that, it's one of the most successful games that they could have made for Studio Red. On top of that, they ended up making an anime series that was on Netflix. It's now gained amazing praise for the first season and about to get a second season. So what Drell's saying is not wrong. It's not wrong. The disclaimer makes sense, but the issue is
the business sense.
Who is the
There's nothing. That's not our problem.
No. I'm just saying that the studio has to go and say, okay, we're going to admit to this, but we're going to go and figure out how we can get this made. That's not their scenario. This would have never did. Even if they didn't release it at all, it would just never come out. It's not going to come out. And I think even if they did the first episode, they would not continue it, no matter how many people cried wolf and asked for XYZ. But again, I don't care enough about this. It's
not our problem, big dog. I understand what you're talking about, but that ain't our problem, baby. That ain't our problem. So what? So what? Because if the quality ain't the same, guess what? People don't care if you haven't heard them screaming loud enough. Okay. So there's already people talking about, well, I'm done now. I'm just not even gonna continue. It is what it is. It just is what it is. Oh well.
The last part of this, we should finish out on collectively our opinion. Should people continue this and finish it?
That's the question. That's the question.
I think that's how we should finish it. Because everything else, everybody's already talked about. But should they continue the rest of it, or should they just say, "Nah, bump it"? I know what this is going to be.
I'm gonna finish it because how much now more aware of what animators go through. I'm gonna finish it for them, and I'm gonna finish it for Junji, and then after it, we could crack open a beer and we could get the beers out, and then we could let out all the emotions after as a whole we've seen it, because then that's when we could fairly constructively either nitpick it, criticize it, and be like, okay, as a whole, this is what you gave us. This is how it feel as a whole now. Because now I'm like, and I'm not the only one. There's a couple of people who cover anime a lot, bigger channels. We're like, after episode 1, this might be the best animation show of the year, and then now I'm going into episode 3 and I'm like, yeesh. So I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna stick with it, and I know they've already confirmed that the director of the first episode is directing the 4th episode.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a bookend, and so we'll see how the bookends are. But yeah, it's I had such. Even now talking about this, I had such folks who you're the one watching. I had such a blast, hell of an experience watching those first 2 episodes with my friends. That like, yes, this is how bad the industry can get, but that doesn't take away anything from those 2 experiences I had with these 2 fellas and Busy. And so I'm gonna finish the show, and then at the end of it, I'll give you my takes as a whole because. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, I'm at least as of this recording, anyways. I'm planning to continue covering the show, as this was not only my original intentions, but plans have already sort of been made to do so. So as a critic, I will continue. But if I was a critic, I would not be continuing. Regardless of what I had said prior. As a matter of fact, I had made plans to start. I don't know if it'll be this weekend now, because preparing for Terrifier 3 is just eating up my time. But pretty soon I'm actually planning on covering the UZUMAKI manga before the finale to the show drops. So yeah, I'm planning on doing like some live reads, something equivalent to that, reacting and simultaneously reviewing the manga. So, yeah. This is the weirdest way to go about reading the manga, but because I was gonna wait until the show was over, because the show was supposed to be as peak in all aspects as episode 1. That's not happening. So I'm reading the manga more quicker than anticipated. But should other people go out and watch it? I don't really know how to address that question. Their perspectives are not mine, good or bad. So I don't really know how to, I don't know how to speak to that. I can only speak to my own perspective, which is I'm gonna continue. But if I was a critic, I wouldn't.
Okay. Sam?
Because the problem is that episode 1 was too great. That's the problem. Maybe if episode 1 was like just okay or something, but episode 1 is a masterpiece in my opinion. It's peak. It is almost inarguably peak. Okay, so to have any form of a drop off, especially to this degree, is problematic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real quick. If you, as an audience person, watch this because what captured you from the first episode was the animation, and that was it. And it was just like the shock factor of how good this looked and the craziness of it. Then, I mean, I don't think you have to continue to watch it. That's my personal opinion. If you watch this because you were enthralled by not just the animation, but the story and where it's taking you, I think you should watch and finish the rest of the season. That's just my honest opinion. That's outside being a critic. Like if you watched this initially, you went to this because of like you saw so many crazy images and you were like, oh, I can't wait to see Pete. That was the first episode for you. If it wasn't about the story for you in any way, shape, or form, it was just about the visual aesthetic and the creep factor of it, then you have no reason to continue if you don't want to. But if you watched it much like me, and I got coaxed into watching this with this craziness, and now you're just immersed into how evil this rabbit hole is going to go, I think you should finish it and see where it goes. And then after the fact, watch and read the anime, or not the anime, but the manga. That's what I plan on doing, even though I don't want to. Just because I want to kind of see, after I have watched this, what it was fully intended to be from a true conversion adaptation standpoint. I think I owe it to the creator to actually see what their whole vision was. Because again, like Ronan said, there's been a live action incarnation. There's been other attempts. And it's for some reason, it just haven't been able to be done just right. And unfortunately, this is another casualty to that. But it's here. I'm going to continue this foolishness, even though I don't want to. But if you watched it, invested it because of what you saw from the visual immersion standpoint, you don't have to continue it. You can watch something else. There's plenty of great anime out right now. But I think if you want to, then continue it. That's my final thoughts with this.
Two things very, very quickly. You know what? I actually do have an answer. If you're one of these people who is outraged, don't continue. Actually, I do have an answer. Don't continue. Just drop off. It's fine. Okay. May God, Allah, and the universe bless you and hold you. Okay. Moving past that, Sam, this is something I'm very curious about. Never mind the audience. Can you very quickly rapid fire shoot out some animes that are visually ugly or more ugly than episode 2? I was very curious about.
They're kind of like shoehorned anime. What I mean by that is like they're not like a normal isekai. They're like ones that are kind of like throwaway. Like they maybe have like one season, and they are slice of life kind of anime. Some of them are like ones where the person is kind of like going through a journey or an adventure. There's 20 of them. If I need to, next episode or when we go to the next episode, I'll give you 20 of those. Like
I'd be very curious because I'm sure the audience would be curious as well.
Yeah,
but
I can definitely give you.
Yeah, I was curious, like if this episode 2, because a lot of people seem very like convinced by this, so I'd be very curious to see what which ones are more ugly than this episode 2, basically.
Yeah, I will come up with. I'll take that action item and come up with a little list for you guys.
Yeah. I would love to see some specific names and shout outs. That'd be intriguing. I would like to look for myself. Because I'm not watching anime at a rate like yours. So there's not many animes that immediately come to mind where I walked away saying, gosh, the animation was so ugly. I choose my animes very, very, very carefully. I'm not just as a reset, I'm not just like watching anything and everything anime wise. So
it's ironic that this show, and I told this to Sam, the manga anime bug bit me to the point that I went off and I got like 2 different titles, and I bought 3 manga books, and I was just like, okay, I need more manga, and especially this one called The Way of the House Husband. I'm like, I need more of this. I'm looking now for anime stuff. So like, I guess it was a silver lining. I guess, but it's another time.
They should not. Why did they do this, dog? I don't know why they've done this to me. Okay. Also, I'm so sorry. Okay, it's manga and is UZUMAKI. Okay, my apologies for mispronouncing. Okay, I'll be drinking bleach later. But no, they should not have done this. Okay, you should have put out the first episode to UZUMAKI, and that's it. You should just be like, listen, as much as we would love to show you the rest, we're not walking willfully towards on a plank towards some hatred-filled venomous fly trap. Okay, absolutely not. No. Okay, here's the first episode. The other ones, I don't know. Niggas will update you later. Okay. Here's some clips online and some images so you can see why we made this choice. Oh, you're angry? Well, what do you know? We thought ahead. Okay, because the route they took, I don't care how it impacts them contractually, professionally. Who cares? Okay, it's a nightmare timeline either way. It was gonna hurt either way. So don't even give me this like, oh yeah, but we needed views. There's 4 episodes, nigga. You should have warned niggas. Are you insane? You guys were just gonna cross your fingers, hoping. What do you guys think? Like, well, hopefully they don't notice until episode 4. What are you mad, bruv?
Yeah, I actually have one already. So this one that I saw on Netflix. It's actually really fun. The name of this one is called High Score Girl. So basically, the girl with the purple at the top, she doesn't really talk, but if you put her in front of any arcade, she will master it and beat it no matter what. Person at the very bottom is a person that really kind of likes her, but he doesn't know how to compete against her either. And so there's this indifference and going back and forth. It's a really cute animation, but the animation looks horrible. The characters, and when you maneuver around them, when they speak, it does not look good at all, unfortunately. Over this course of history, there have been different character animations that, believe it or not, this is actually an anime. This is a character from an anime that has looked and unfortunately just doesn't suit what it would be. In some situations, it might be an episode or few, because some people would say this, and there is an amazing animated anime series that came out with their first season, and that was One Punch Man. One Punch Man, if you've ever seen it, One Punch Man, you go to the last episode, it is animation masterpiece, right? They moved from one studio to another.
I heard about
when
this.
they moved to that other studio, it didn't hit. But is it to say that the animation should be condemned and damned? In my opinion, it shouldn't. But did that second season get condemned and damned? Absolutely. They crucified that show. A lot of people don't even care about the third season coming out just because of how they compared the animation from the first studio, from the first season to the second one. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it happens.
This is not new. It's
just unfortunate that this is such a high level,
highly anticipated,
years in the making anime that just did not. After the second, it was a drop off from an animation standpoint, not from a story standpoint or a progression standpoint. Even the voice acting is actually still tier in both episodes. From what I've seen.
Oh yeah.
Can I just say that first example, even without seeing moving footage, made me laugh. But there's definitely something very I don't know, derpy or something about the character designs that made me laugh. And the second example you used with the chick with the giant green eyes made me die laughing. What in God's name anime was that? My lord.
Yeah, there's another one. Again, I could go for days, but I think the easiest example for you guys, if you look at One Punch Man, and I dare anybody to go and look at One Punch Man, the last episode. Just look at the last episode. I know that sounds weird and stupid, but if you look at the animation fight for the last episode, it's unlike any fight that you've ever seen. That's that level of quality and detail and craziness. But then when you go to the second season, you realize that it's a different animation team, and you realize the quality drop off is insanity, unfortunately. So yeah, I need a little bit more time, but give me a little bit more time. I can promise you, I can give y'all some unfortunate good but bad nuggets.
Dope. And the story has been good, but even that has been a bit worrisome because I get the manga must be something really special. I need to check this out immediately.
Yeah.
First season versus second season.
But yeah, I know Ronan's got to go. I think we pretty much
we got this
in the bag. So yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up. But yeah, we've noticed, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't even want to watch this evil show. These jokers, these men right here.
I honestly, truthfully, I'm gonna be full blown honest with you. I kind of just want to quit and just.
I know that anime. What are you doing watching that, Ant?
It is the funniest thing ever. It is. I was belly laughing at.
All right, we'll get into more later. All right, guys, we're gonna go. Peace, people.
Filing out the top of
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my